Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Wrestling is Cool, the coolest wrestling podcast on the planet. So cool that we're getting signs on Monday Night Raw, and we have Sancho about to try and pitch you on his farce, on his fake movement, Sancho Mania. What is that?
I've heard the people in the comments, Sancho Mania, the fire rises. You try to put us out with your little itty bitty fire extinguisher, Santi, but your fire hose does not have enough to put this out. That's right, the Sancho Mania shirt's available now. The link in the description. Get yours today, and hats and stickers. I'm Matt Cardone in this bad boy. You know what I mean? There's gonna be merchandising for everybody. Yeah.
I firmly believe that is the only one that's going to be sold right there. That's one of one. There's no more that are gonna. Dude, I will eat my sock. Okay, I won't do that if people actually buy the Sancho Mania shirt.
Oh, get ready. You better put some salad dressing on that sock, brother. It's gonna go right in your mouth.
Well, folks, check the description of wherever it is that you're listening to. I'll put Sancho Mania link in there so that you can go check it out if you want to buy yourself a shirt. I don't know, man. I don't know if that market exists, but folks, welcome to Wrestling is Cool. Sancho, before we get started, I've been watching Fallout. Have you seen Fallout on Prime?
No. Oh yeah. The show.
The show.
Hey, Flex, the guy that's Maximus.
Yeah.
I did a play with him in high school when he was in high school.
So sick.
Yeah, man, he was a shy kid, dude. He went to Juilliard, and as an actor, because I went to school for acting, there's always that little jealousy bug. But it makes no sense because he's a Juilliard actor.
Yeah,
and I'm just some guy on a podcast.
Yeah, that's like us being mad. I'm like, oh man, it should be me in the main event of WrestleMania.
Exactly. That's exactly the equivalent. It's like, was it Matt Bonner is closer to LeBron James than anybody else? Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Matt Scalabrini, Brian Scalabrini, that's who it was, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Seamus, it's all the same.
The White Mamba.
Yes.
Dude, we're so all over the place. Fallout.
Red Mamba.
If you don't know, it is a post-apocalyptic world. There's all these shelters underground called fallouts, and all of them have different types of called vaults that have different types of rules. Some are experiments. So I wanted to ask you, Sancho, would you rather, in a post-apocalyptic world, have to live in a fallout shelter where the overseer is Vince McMahon, fully in character, fully in character, or a vault that at all times is Bloodline rules? Which vault are you picking?
Give me Bloodline rules, brother.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You could just be sleeping at any moment. The final boss appears. Final boss engaged. Starts beating you up with a chair and starts saying, "Look at you now, boy! Look at you now!" That's the vault you want to live in?
Yes, because it clearly backfired on the Bloodline.
That's true. I don't feel like they took advantage of Bloodline rules, by the way.
No. At the same time, I do feel like there's one person throughout this entire saga that has no blame is Paul Heyman. Like, you're the wise man. It's your job to be the safety valve for the Bloodline, and you blew it. And I like to point out, WrestleMania 40, he didn't jump on the apron. He didn't do anything. He was the only non-interfering member of the Bloodline, if you really think about it.
And he interfered in WrestleMania 39, but didn't interfere at WrestleMania 40. So you're going to go with a Bloodline rules vault shelter.
Yeah, please. Far away from Vince.
Yeah, I feel like the Vince McMahon one could be hit or miss. At any moment, it could just become horrible. And I feel like the uncertainty of it would make it unbearable. But I think what you're getting with Bloodline rules.
At the same time, you never know. Over there in Vince's vault, someone could be birthing a hand. I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah, you don't. That is on brand with the world of Fallout. Everyone being, irradiated.
True.
Yeah.
True. A ghoul and things of that sort. A ghoul. Hey, Santi, did you know that today is John Cena at the time of this recording? Is John Cena's birthday? Yeah?
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I should have known that.
You should have known that. So as a #1 fan of John Cena, what's your favorite match?
Oh,
It doesn't matter what your favorite match is.
You did not just do that to me. You did not just do that to me. You did not just bait me with a John Cena related question and then hit me with that. Sancho, right now, apologize. Apologize.
You went right into that one, brother.
I did. I don't care if you're going to hit me with it again. I'm answering it. John Cena, CM Punk is my favorite John Cena match. Money in the Bank 2011. It's a bit of a basic bitch answer, but it's undeniably just such an amazing match, especially if you know the context of everything, the storyline leading into it.
He was about to leave.
Oh, it was so good, man. And that crowd, it was the perfect storm. The perfect storm.
Okay.
What about you? What's your favorite Cena match?
Oh, there's this one where he has Solo Sakoa.
Stop.
And then Solo Sakoa grabs him and he's like, "Happy birthday to John."
For audio listeners, he's singing the happy birthday theme as he's thumbing himself on the chest.
On the Sancho Mania shirt, by the way.
Yes. Available now in the link in the description. Well, folks, welcome to Wrestling is Cool. As I've already said, the coolest wrestling podcast on the planet. Shout out to whoever it was that brought that beautiful Wrestling is Cool sign that was directly visible right behind Pat McAfee, right behind Gunther. Pat McAfee even retweeted the segment with our sign. Perfection. You nailed it.
Pat McAfee podcast. Wrestling is Cool.
You know what though? Guarantee whoever brought that sign is probably over on the Patreon. Patreon.com/Santi's app, where you could be getting the Wrestling is Cool podcast. Count them 1, 2, 3 days earlier than anyone else over on this planet. You're also going to be getting the Raw reviews, the SmackDown reviews, and then you're going to be getting an extra handful of videos this week where we're going to be watching and reviewing 3 separate matches in the Wrestling is Cool Match Club. Sancho, the matches this week are officially in. It is The Rock versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam 2002, the birth of the next big thing, the end of The Rock at the top of the mountain.
The Hollywood Rock, right?
That's before Hollywood Rock. That is right before he goes off to film The Scorpion King.
Your favorite movie?
Yes, of course.
Video game.
Yes. Akuma Shente. Rise of the Acadian Baby on the GameCube. We are doing a 7-way match on Lucha Underground that I know nothing about.
That's my pick, dude.
And then we're doing a 2007 Ultimate X match from TNA, which I also have no memory of. So I'm excited to watch. I like watching matches that I know because then I can provide some commentary of where I was at that moment in time. But I also but I also like the idea of being completely blinded on something.
It's a match club, man. You bring in matches. The reason why I picked those matches is because I want to encourage, we get comments, we read comments, and then it's like, oh, you might as well change it to WWE is cool. I get it. We're a 2-man band here, all right? We're trying to expand, and what a great way to expand with the Wrestling is Cool Match Club. And I've always told people that with more time and more, support, we could definitely branch out. Truthfully, it's hard to watch a lot of this much pro wrestling, but I could watch a match here and there when it comes to different promotions. We could wrinkle in it. I mean, we're not, a stranger to different promotions. We believe in Joe Hendry.
We do. Man, every stream has to end now with Joe Hendry's theme in my community. Yeah. I will say, I feel like a long-term vision for me, because I do watch AEW, but I'm just not as into it as I am the world of the WWE. I would love a world where the Patreon gets big enough where Sancho, we could bring in 2 veteran podcasters that love AEW and have them have their own AEW show on Wrestling is Cool. I think that'd be a cool future outlook for the show. But right now, I like what we're doing. We have our wrestling show. We do have an AEW topic today for the AEW folks that do like it, but it is true. It is mostly WWE centric, but that's just because it's what we like. And at the end of the day, I feel like for us to truly personify that Wrestling is Cool, we need to fully love everything that we're talking about and enjoy everything that we're watching. And I'm not going to lie, I went through a stretch there where it was really tough to watch AEW. But after Dynasty, I think I might have to dive back in because it was a heck of a show. We'll talk a little bit about it later. But let's talk about everything else that's been going on in the world of professional wrestling. Sancho, Becky Lynch is your new women's world champion, the fourth ever world champion crowned through a battle royal, which I noticed that they didn't count the 2 Royal Rumbles in that list, because they were just talking about more traditional battle royals. But yes, Becky Lynch made that awesome entrance that I honestly hope every main event starts with, some really cool produced entrance like that from the back to the entrance ramp. And she ended up eliminating the forever second place, it seems, Liv Morgan.
It reminded me like a Trisha Takanawa from Family Guy, where it's like all this chaos and they're like, we're live here, and everyone's just throwing chairs everywhere. And then I just love that the WWE production is kind of finding new wrinkles and new ways to play with the sandbox that these tools that they have. And it just keeps us on its toes, because you go from like a normal segment with Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae, and all of a sudden chaos is breaking out in the ring. You got Nia Jax and Liv Morgan fighting, and then it just kind of weaves in everybody. It reminds everybody that, hey, all of these wrestlers are involved into this little storyline, and it keeps everybody not necessarily on the same playing level in terms of like popularity, but it lets you know, like, hey, there's a Indy Hartwell, there's a Candice LeRae, there's an Ivy Nile, there's a Maxine Dupree with a nice moment with her and Becky Lynch. Those are the changes here that in the previous era, it was only if you hey, if you were selling merch, we only care about you. But this is a great way to keep everybody in the fold. And even though Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae are moving baby steps into their storyline, it's a storyline that you're keeping and locked in. But we should have known as soon as Becky's doing this entire thing, like, yeah, she was gonna win this match.
Yeah. Sancho, you know I'm known as the deep cut reference guy. I've referenced The Great Gatsby, many literature classics when I'm referring to things, but this is a deep cut that you're going to get. All right.
I hope so.
One of the things that I've really liked about these is that it feels like I'm seeing something that I'm not supposed to see. Like I'm getting exclusive access into this backstage environment of the WWE. That's what it feels like. Seeing this particular segment where it starts with the interview of Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, and then it goes to the fight, and then it goes to Becky Lynch, and then Maxine and Ivy. Do you remember the like 2013 PlayStation commercials with all the different PlayStation characters at like a restaurant at a bar, and it would pan to a like Solid Snake talking to the guy from Resistance Fall of Man, and then it would pan and cut to Nathan Drake having a conversation. It kind of felt like that, where we're kind of getting to see all of these different characters in a different light, as opposed to just what we're meant to see in the ring. It just feels like we're getting exclusive access and that exclusive access inherently makes characters like Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, even if it's not like, oh my God, this is like gonna push them to the moon, it just makes them more interesting to see them in that different environment.
100%. And at the same time, like you talked about, those backstage segments are really highlighted in the 24/7 documentary, and we just get more and more insight into it. And it kind of reminds you that these are all the same characters in the same world. They exist. And it reminds me, just to go a little bit deeper, remember the WWF Attitude commercials where it says "Get the F out"?
Oh,
where they're
great.
they're at the, what was it, the Titan headquarters?
Titan Towers, yeah.
Yeah, the Titan Towers, and they're walking around, and you know they're using the elevator, and you got Kane, and like that's the kind of vibe you get of it. And especially, I think it's so odd to me that without the Thunderdome era, we wouldn't have the WWE willing to be this creative and to be like, oh, it's okay for us to be backstage so long and to have these interesting vignettes, or go into an office that is like Vince's office, for example. You're like, whoa, we're never supposed to be here, and have like a match in there. And at the same time, and I mentioned this before a long time ago, it's like these arenas are just more than just one little weird corner where you got light tubes and you're like in this dungeon, like you're just cutting a promo. Like, expand and have fun with it. It kind of reminds me of those SmackDown video games where you accidentally walk in the back and boom, you're in this huge cavernous loading dock, and you could have a match out there. So I'm excited for it. And it made it fun because it put the women on the forefront, and the women literally had like 40 minutes of the last hour. And I was like, wow. I looked over, I was like, wow, we're going to have like a 30-minute battle royal here. And it's got multiple segments, multiple commercials. Part of me thought Alexa Bliss was going to come out because that little Uncle Howdy QR code said coming soon. I'm like, does that mean soon is now?
That was her hometown too. I don't know if you knew that.
It was her hometown. And I feel like that would have been, here's the thing. But I know we're about to get into it. Becky Lynch, right? New era, yada, yada, yada. My problem with the Becky Lynch putting the belt on her, it was an opportunity to be creative, to take a risk, and they went with the safe route. It's an uninspired choice. Becky Lynch is a great wrestler, a great superstar, and no doubt a great champion to promote things and whatnot, promote her book. But it reminds me of a guy named LA Knight who had an opportunity to be your undisputed champion. And what did the WWE do, Santi? They went with the safe choice by giving Roman Reigns the belt when you could have given the undisputed champion to a guy named LA Knight. And I would like to point out as well, LA Knight is getting nerfed heavily. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to see it. Can't do the LA Knight elbow anymore. Why? Because The Rock's back on TV? Bafooey.
So Becky Lynch.
Yes. Becky Lynch.
The women,
uninspired choice. Choice.
Yeah, women got the main event back-to-back TV shows. Don't know if you picked up on that. SmackDown, main event by the women?
Yeah, and by the way, it's the women in the mid-card that are carrying the free TV.
Ooh, good point. Okay, So you're saying it's an uninspired choice. I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate here, okay?
Sure.
I agree.
This is the fun of the podcast.
I agree that this was their opportunity to do whatever they wanted. They could have put the belt on anyone and they could have gotten away with it.
100%.
I think their concern is the championship belt losing prestige on this non-transfer of power, because there is no transfer of power from Rhea Ripley to the new champion. And if that's the case, I get it, because whoever becomes the champion here, you're the interim. Like, you didn't beat Rhea Ripley. And that's just a fact. You didn't beat Rhea Ripley. You will never be seen as the true, real champion, the true, real owner of that belt, because you didn't actually strip the power away from Rhea Ripley. So whoever won this, I feel like the championship reign for them would have been a bit of a disservice, because there would have always been that lingering, you didn't beat Rhea, you didn't beat Rhea. You know, however, who doesn't suffer from this because they're already a superstar? It is Becky Lynch. Because if you put the belt on Chelsea Green, had you put the belt on Ivy Nile, on Liv Morgan, on Nia Jax, it would have been, you didn't beat Rhea for it. Now that an established veteran, a Hall of Famer, is the champion, yes, the prestige of the championship is still really low because it's not Rhea Ripley, but at the very least, when somebody like Liv Morgan or Nia Jax beats Becky Lynch, at the very least, there'll be some actual transfer of prestige as opposed to just winning this thing that's just available for everyone. That's my thoughts.
Well said, devil's advocate, but allow me to retort.
Ooh, the devil's advocate.
Ooh, right?
Devil's squared.
Right. Then why take the belt off of Rhea then? Keep it on her. I don't. This is the weirdest thing about it. If you're so worried, well, again, not you, your opinion.
I know why.
If you're so worried about the prestige and the legacy of the belt, then just keep it on Rhea. Now, that's the whole thing. Like, they kept it on Roman, they kept it on Seth when he was injured. Keep it on Rhea and keep her off TV. I thought the goal of vacating the title for Rhea Ripley was to bolster the Raw women's roster because it was being too dominated by Rhea Ripley. So I think that the WWE was like, okay, vacate the title. Rhea gets off of TV because clearly Judgment Day has no problem being on TV injured, aka Dominic, aka still interfering in matches with a sling, aka Finn Balor with a big bruise on his head. So that is not a valid argument for the WWE to sideline Rhea Ripley for the bolstering of the Raw Women's roster when you give the belt to Becky Lynch. Becky's already did this thing of trying to be a launch pad for NXT talent like Tiffany Stratton, which it did work. But you do not want Becky Lynch to be the next John Cena, where a Becky Lynch rub means nothing. Right now, it has value, but will it have value when she gets usurped by a Liv Morgan or Nia Jax? It all depends how. If Liv Morgan's going to do it, she needs to destroy Becky Lynch and show this new, that this revenge Liv Morgan has a new gear, that it's a scarier gear. If Nia's going to do it, she needs to dominate and squash her to reiterate that she is the Annihilator, that she is the ultimate force in women's wrestling. Because right now, Becky is being the reason why I think people are having issues with Becky. It's because we were all told that she was going to go away for a while. Now I know things changed because of the injury to Rhea, but you had a perfect opportunity, man, to put it on Chelsea Green just to see what it's like, just to see what it tastes like. You know, the taste of the glory. That's all I wanted to see.
The forbidden fruit.
The forbidden fruit, because Chelsea has been jobbing out so much. And I thought Chelsea would have at least brought in some fun to the title and at least been on TV with it, which we'll get more into.
Did you hear my ridiculous comparison, what they could have done when I was on stream?
I'm rubbing off of you.
Yeah. What I felt they could have done with Chelsea Green as champion is she could have been a snively, cowardly, political champion that only gets away with things because of Piper Niven. Because if you noticed in that Royal Rumble, that was like the first time in a long time that they made Piper Niven look like main event danger. Her taking out Becky Lynch the way that she did, right?
Yeah, she did stand up to Jade too. She wasn't afraid of Jade.
Wasn't afraid of Jade, stood up to Nia Jax as well. So I thought that they were building up a monster Piper Niven for a cowardly heel run for Chelsea Green as champion, where she only wins because of Piper Niven. It is Shawn Michaels and Diesel.
Santi,
I pulled a Sancho and made a ridiculous comparison, but that's what I said on stream. Look, you had asked... You had asked, why take the title off of Rhea. Obviously, we don't know like the extent of why she's gone, but I will tell you right now, I think if I'm the WWE, I just found my best way to make Rhea Ripley your top babyface in the entire company. A babyface that rivals Cody Rhodes. Not just the top babyface in the women's, she could be the top babyface in the WWE when she comes back from this injury and wins the title, because there was the way that it was said, it was just so difficult to turn her babyface when she's attached to the Judgment Day and when she has no sympathetic angle to lean on, when she's just so dominant. But now she can come back from this injury, huge pop, make a surprise, take out Liv Morgan, become your new women's champion, and you just made a top super mega babyface.
I just don't think Judgment Day is a heel faction, though. They're too fun. They have so much variety, and they're not a one-note heel faction like the Bloodline 2.0.
That's true.
I mean, Finn is charming. Damian is hilarious sometimes, and Damian is an imposing force. Dominic is the funny one, in my opinion. Like, did you hear when he goes, I texted you?
Yeah. It's so good, man. When there was one point in, I know, welcome to Wrestling School. We're all over the place. Where Damian starts screaming at Dominic in Spanish, where in English he says, like if you translate it, it's just like, I don't need you. I can take care of business. But he says it in Spanish, and JD turns to Dominic and goes, What'd he say? Dominic goes, you're not going to like what he said.
That's what I mean. I mean, they're a different kind of heel faction. They're like a modern heel. It's like there are tensions on
They're
heel.
Team Rocket.
Sure. Yes, and at the same time, like I know people were saying like Damian is going to be a face, and they're trying to position it, but he still does heel things. He did like beat up Ricochet and Andrade. The point I wanted to make is to bring it back to Rhea, I don't think her being attached or anchored to or Judgment Day, they're not an anchor to Rhea. She was doing just fine being their mommy, and just having them be like buffoons. Sure, it diminishes Damian and Finn and JD, but I have enjoyed them. The only thing I just wanted was Finn to carry some gold, singles gold, because Finn is still recovering from that injury after being the champion and then getting hurt by Seth. In terms of mental and, in terms of just popularity, more justice for Finn because he was jobbing out. But I just don't like that. I just don't like that Rhea never got that benefit of you could hold on to this belt 1,000 days, because she totally could have held on to that belt.
I agree.
That belt for 1,000 days.
I think part of the issue is that I do think that they want to turn Rhea Ripley into a super uber mega babyface. But an absentee champion by default is the biggest heel in the company. We've been raised like cattle to believe that if the champion is not there defending, they are the enemy. They are the bad. They are the what we want to boo.
That's their fault. And this is what they painted themselves into a corner. And I got so much flack for making a video about Cody Rhodes saying that he was going to be different and the dude's the same. And I think a lot of people thought the video what I made was a knock against Cody Rhodes. It's not a knock against Cody Rhodes. It's a knock that we've been conditioned, like you mentioned, to believe that a champion gone is not a worthy champion. Drew says it. Everybody says it. It's the same thing when John Cena says part-timers shouldn't be in the WWE because we're the ones that are establishing everything. You burned that bridge, and now they're going to burn this bridge of, hey, the champion's hurt. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let him come back and let them heal up to defend their belt again versus now they're going to have to drop the title every time they're hurt.
Yeah. And yeah, you're kind of right there. It is a shame that that's the case because now it basically means either if you're a babyface, you have to drop the title, and they've done that every single time. I think the only recent time that they haven't done it, and 100% they would have done it if it wasn't so close to WrestleMania, is Seth Rollins. But every single time a babyface champion gets hurt, they're stripped of the championship. The heel, on the other hand, seems to be able to hold on to it, like you said, and kind of continue to develop that heat. So it is something that we have been conditioned to over the last 15 years, that the absentee champion is a heel by default, and maybe that's just what they didn't want for Rhea Ripley. I don't think that they wanted her when she was slowly becoming this popular babyface, and I think that they were leading towards a proper double turn of her and Liv Morgan. I feel like that could have shot their plans had they allowed Rhea Ripley to be an absentee champion, because by default we wouldn't have liked it because it's what they've created. It's their own monster.
So I remember you mentioned, so where does Becky go here? Like you talked about that. I've heard you mention that Becky gives the WWE multiple branches to bounce off of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how about I expand on that?
Yeah. I think that this now gives the opportunity for Liv Morgan to be that vicious guerrilla tactics superstar that we've been kind of hinting at, because, you know, you said it, that, you know, for Liv to be this champion, that she's going to need to show that side. I don't think that she could have shown that side in a battle royal, and I don't think that would have done her service. And I think it's the same thing with Nia Jax. I think the only one that could have gotten away with something that could have put her over as a character trait would have been Chelsea Green finding a way to cheat in this battle royal, which she did for a bit. But now this opens up the opportunities for just about everyone on the roster to win a championship that has at the very least some prestige and a transfer of power with it, not just something that they have to build from the ground up.
I have another bet for you.
Oh,
Santi.
God. Okay. Hit me.
I am in the hole here, but brother, I'm going all in again. Gamble responsibility, everybody. 10 gifted. Becky Lynch will give a match to Maxine Dupree.
Ooh. I think you're right. So, like, I think you're right, but I'll play along because I like gambling. All right. I don't think that she does. So you think that she will? I don't think that she does. I do think that she will, though, but I'll play on the other side. But, you know, I don't think it's crazy to think that she could lose this as early as Backlash.
To who?
To whoever. To Liv Morgan, to anybody. Because she did have scheduled vacation, a scheduled time off.
God, imagine that, bro. You're like, oh, I got this book trip. Nope, you're working.
No, psych. I mean, hey, that happens in real 9-to-5s. But I do think that she could lose it as early as Backlash. Look, I truly mean it. I do think that had Liv Morgan won in a battle royal, it wouldn't have hit as hard. I feel like we need to see all of the tactics that Liv Morgan can employ that will be part of her character moving forward in an actual one-on-one environment against someone that she has traditionally not been able to beat in Becky Lynch. For it to feel like a legitimate victory, like something she deserves, as opposed to something that was just handed to her because it was vacated.
I wanted Chelsea Green to be the one to hold it to Backlash because I feel it would be much more like because Chelsea seems like a more sympathetic character.
Sure.
For her to be destroyed by Liv Morgan, you'd be like, wow, Liv, chill. It's Chelsea. She's not like an opposing threat. You're just beating up on someone that you could totally dominate type of thing. But hey, at the end of the day, they made their choice. I'm hoping that they don't put Becky out there in too many of those promos, because sometimes a Becky promo could hit those, those levels that we've seen before. A fighting Becky is the best Becky.
All right. So Becky Lynch is the champion. That means we have a champion that's late 30s. Damian Priest, a champion in his 40s. Cody Rhodes, late 30s. Sami Zayn, late 30s. Awesome Truth, 50s and 40s. Bayley, also in late 30s. So somebody on Patreon had pointed out, how in the world can this be a new era when this is one of the oldest? And I actually think there might be some truth here. This might be one of the oldest, on average, age set of champions that we have in the WWE. Maybe ever. How can this be a new era of professional wrestling when we are just crowning the ones that don't have that much time left in their careers, is what they said. Look, I don't think that 37 or 38, is ancient by any means. I still think they have a lot of valuable key time in their career.
What did you say?
But I get the sentiment when I do think that some people maybe misunderstood new era for new generation. I don't think we're at new generation yet, but here's the thing.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
In my opinion, the new generation, those that are in early 30s, in their 20s, they need shoulders of giants to be able to stand on. And
for sure,
I do think that these established superstars, these megastars holding these championships, will make it far more special when somebody like Tiffany Stratton beats a Bayley, for example, when a Liv Morgan beats a Becky Lynch, when, I don't know, the Creed brothers beat Awesome Truth. When you have these established names, these established faces, I think that it makes it more of an accomplishment when the new generation finally steps in and takes over. And I do think that this is the groundwork of the new era. I think we have to start here with the recognizable champions. And I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this era, it's a set of champions that might not even be on the main roster yet.
Oh, for sure. This is the Ruthless Aggression era. This is a transitional era between the two generations. You had the John Cenas, the Batistas overcoming the Takers, Shawn Michaels, and all those kind of eras. So that's what we're in right now. So that's what's so exciting. And I think the difference as well in this Triple H era is a lot of that talent that you see is not buried on the mid card or underneath all that. They're in NXT. They're thriving and they're continuing their legacies there, so that when they do show up on the main roster, they don't have this weird, jumpy, like a stop and go type of transition like the Nakamuras or things of that sort.
So, but is it all only NXT right now? Do you see people that are on the main roster right now, aside from Braun Breaker and Tiffany Stratton, that could be flag bearers for this new generation? I do think that Liv Morgan can be one of those as well. Any names stand out to you as ones that at some point in this generation you want to see them grab the mantle and wave the flag for the WWE and be the ones that are the face of this new generation, this new era?
I think Trick Williams would be a fantastic pick as well down in NXT. I mean, the draft is going to be a huge factor because it's the first time we're going to have NXT talent in a sense of being able to absorb other superstars that need that boost as well. So this is going to be an exciting draft that I can't predict, but I think Trick is one of them. And I think all, the Julius, the Creed brothers and all that, it's a shame that Dijak might not be one of that because of that. And LA Knight may be one of those factors as well, because you talked about age, and that's why I'm so gung-ho about LA Knight, is that he doesn't have a lot of time on the table. He may disagree and things of that sort, but his age certainly is a factor going forward. And I think maybe sometimes the WWE, to play to talk about the other side, maybe age is a determining factor for you not to get your push or not. Like, you can't rely on someone on that age because of injuries, and clearly injuries are happening now more than ever in the WWE because they push their talent so hard going into Mania.
So at the moment, though, do you see any problems with the crop of champions that we have, or are you and I kind of in agreement there?
I don't have a problem with who's champion and their ages of the champion. Yeah. I think it's played out that way. The creative stories led to this point. It's not like, hey, Cody's getting old, let's give him the belt, or Damien's old. I don't think they look at it on that aspect. And when it comes to age, I think where it does hurt is the Roman era really did set things. They created a division, Santi, when it comes to things. You have two different camps now. You have, let's make the belt a prize fighter belt, and let's treat it like a boxer or an MMA fighter where they only fight once or twice a year. And then you have the Attitude Era fans where they're like, we like to see our champion fight on TV. And I'm one of the Attitude Era guys that used to grow up with our champions fighting on TV. And I think that is where you're having this new era kind of conversation that you're stemming from, because obviously I feel like the WWE wants to protect their assets and they don't want their champions to get injured. So a la Rhea. So that's why we have these kind of like, established people. We don't have these young stars going out there to try to make a name for themselves, to try to stand out. They want someone that is a veteran that can know how to handle themselves in the ring and know what their limits are.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up just because I saw so many comments of new era, LOL, Becky Lynch, why'd she win then? I saw a lot of that, but I don't know. I'm just seeing a long-term play here. And if you want to establish a Liv Morgan, or you want to establish maybe a Blair Davenport getting called up from NXT, anybody, if you want to establish them, they're going to need a final boss to take on. They're going to need somebody to dethrone to really make that transition, that the transition of power feel far more special.
But do you feel that the WWE is putting so much on the notion of dethroning somebody?
Yes, I do believe that, yes.
Well, because one of the interesting things that popped up on my For You page was this old promo with Mankind. And Mankind goes like, hey, man, I've only held the belt 39 days out of my entire WWE career in 3 different reigns. But no one remembers those 39 days. They remember me, the legend, Mankind, the legacy behind that. And that's the thing. Like the WWE has turned championship reigns into stats and statistics, where you can't really put a number or a stat on a wrestler to see their impact years from now. I mean, because you could throw out Hall of Fame baseball, football numbers, like this guy's the number 1 rusher in the NFL, This wrestler had the most titles ever and the longest reign. But we've shifted from who's held the belt the most times to who's held the belt the longest time. And I think that's going to be, like I said, it's separate. It's created a divide. I see it on the internet every day. Because what happens if Cody loses within a year? Does that mean he's a worse champion than Roman?
There will be a faction of people that believe that 100%. Not me, but there will definitely be a group of people that will say that that's a terrible reign, which is hilarious.
And what happens if Becky loses at Backlash?
People will say, well, why even put the title on her in the first place?
Right, because that's where I'm saying. It's like the prize fighter mentality. It's different from wrestling and boxing and things of that sort, because boxing and MMA is determined who's the best. You want to beat. In order to beat a man, you got to beat the man, right? But wrestling is a different business.
So you don't, just to clarify, just on what side you're on, you don't like the prize, or as much, you don't like the prize fighter outlook of the championship is a rarity.
No, because this is the problem it creates, where you have to have like this major mega, oh my God, not every moment is Cody Rhodes' story in wrestling. Not every moment is a Daniel Bryan or a Kofi Mania. Because if every moment is that, you're going to lose so much talent in the mix. Because not everybody's going to be the Cody Rhodes, or not everybody's going to be a Roman, but there's going to be someone that's going to be a servable champion that we're going to have attachment to, like Mankind. Mankind, sure, he's a hardcore legend, got thrown off a Hell in a Cell, known for all these crazy things, but for him to be, it wasn't about him being a champion that diminished his legacy. It's like in the NBA. Charles Barkley never won an NBA championship. That doesn't mean he was a crappy player. He was a solid player. It just happened to be in the wrong era. And that's what I mean. I feel that if you have a fighting champion, there will be times where they lose. There will be times where they get screwed. There will be times where something zany happens, pro wrestling related, but that won't diminish who they are as a fighter, as a champion.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to, you're not going to have Cody carry the belt for 3 years. That's just not going to happen. That's just not going to happen, because I think Cody Rhodes understands the business, and Cody knows that in order for this business to survive, you need to have not a revolving door, not like an every month a new champion, but you need to have a reason to drop the belt to keep going. When Roman dropped the belt, it made sense for Cody to carry on.
Sancho, is it a fair statement to say John Cena, Randy Orton, and Triple H are all legends of this business, that they will go down in the bastions of history as one of as some of the titans of this industry?
Yeah. And it'd be unfortunate that they won't be, not all of them will be on Mount Rushmore, but yes.
No, but they are all legends in their own right.
For sure.
And almost all of them, we have 16, 14, and 14 title reigns in terms of world championships. And almost all of them were 4 months, 5 months on a good reign. So there was a time where losing the championship didn't deem you as a failure. But I do think that Cody Rhodes, if he loses within 6 months, that there will be a group of people, a large...
That's unfair.
I agree it's not fair. I agree it's not fair. It's just the monster that the WWE has created of these long championship reigns. I mean, like, even like Seth Rollins' championship reign was weirdly only, what was that? Like that was over almost a year, and that was only the 4th longest reign active in the WWE behind Rhea, Gunther, and Roman Reigns. Like, that's insane. Like, that is not where the WWE was a handful of years ago. I personally would like some of the championships to maybe have that prize fighter feel, and then some of the championships to be more revolving doors. That's what I thought when they introduced the World Heavyweight Championship. That's what I thought that was going to be. And then that ended up going on some historic run as well.
Well, that's the thing is, like, do you feel that it's like when you win the Undisputed, you get the champion schedule where you don't wrestle until PLEs?
You want the Tribal Chief schedule. Do you want to make Seth Rollins money, or do you want to make Tribal Chief money?
Right. Well, that's the whole thing, that it's like, and it's not a knock against Cody. Is like, that's what he's on right now. And I know he has a different goal with that belt. And he talks about it in all his promos. He wants to be the guy that takes that belt to house shows. And it's so interesting to me that there is like comic book accurate lore when it comes to what's seen on TV, and then there's live show lore that we never get. Like, not everyone sees the matches or the team ups that you see. You literally had in a live show, it was Gunther versus Finn versus Sammy versus Chad Gable. So it's like, I know, and Xavier Woods tweeted out it was a banger of a match. Burger. It was a banger of a match. So it's like there's so many different things that I feel that Cody as a live show, and, you know, someone being a personality on TV, Make-A-Wish Cody champion, fantastic. But I just wanted to see, like, this is what I'm talking about. What the eras that we're in. I think we're in a prize fighter era.
What do you think marked the end of this era? Was it The Rock's final run and then that ending of WrestleMania 40, or has this new era begun before that? What do you think was the marker of the new era?
Oh, the Triple H era?
Yeah.
That kind of came out of nowhere, right? It was like, wait a minute, why are we talking about new era here right in the beginning of Mania? I would have to say if the WWE says that's when that era started, that's when the new era started. But I haven't seen the new era, and I think that's why the Becky Lynch conversation is there too. Like, the new era would have been for me that Cody defends the belt on TV all of a sudden, and it's like, hey guys, we're gonna have more belt defenses on TV. And that's the thing, the argument against that is that it cheapens the legacy. But I would present Sammy and Chad Gable on TV. It's not gonna cheapen the Intercontinental belt at all. But I would say definitely WrestleMania 40.
Okay.
Because that's what the WWE said. Man, 1,000 times.
I know that we've talked about WrestleMania ad nauseum over the last couple of episodes, but I still feel like there's more to talk about. Like, now that the smoke has settled, now that, you know, we don't have maybe that recency bias, I wanted to talk to you about The Rock's final run there as the final boss, because we haven't really sat down and actually analyzed the run and had a conversation about this. We just sort of were taking on this ride. We were going at 1,000 miles an hour, and now finally The Rock has stepped away and we can breathe and actually talk about it. Because when you actually think about everything that happened during the lead up, it's insane. It's actually insanity that we were around to witness this insane run, the final boss run of The Rock, and how it went from one thing and it evolved every single week until what we eventually got, right? We had The Rock that was the man of the people, that was there to, hey, should I sit at the head of the table, to a more serious Rock, to a Rock with a new theme, a Rock with the lightning entrance, the Rock that's the final boss, the Rock making people bleed. Like every single week, we had an evolution until we got to the final boss. And I just feel like we haven't had enough time to actually geek out about everything that we saw with the Rock.
I know we were so caught up in Cody and the transition with Roman Reigns, but The Rock made everything must-watch TV. There's a reason why the WWE had sold out shows for the entire time that The Rock could have easily showed up. And then he started just showing up unannounced. And that pop was crazy.
Yeah.
And what I liked about The Rock is that he transcended to a new level. Like he kicked it into a new gear that I did not know he had in him. And I think it's because what works for it the most is that he set aside Dwayne Johnson and he put The Rock, the final boss, on paper. And that man moved. That dude moved so many segments. And he did make it electrifying for me. But I've never really felt goosebumps before in a Rock entrance when the lights went out and the lightning started going. And I was like, oh my God, who is this? And then the dude just pops right into the... This is some really good stuff, man. And you're right. I think we need to take time to digest it because at the same time, it happened in this whole storm of WrestleMania 40. And the electricity and the thunder in that storm was The Rock.
Did you ever feel at moments during this run like a sense of familiarity, but also not when you saw The Rock on screen? Because sometimes I was like, man, this is kind of Uncanny Valley, where like I know that's The Rock, but there is enough that's changed in his personality, his demeanor, and even his body language, where I'm like, I have no idea who that is. And because I have no idea who that is, I don't know how he's going to react to certain things. I didn't know, for example, how was he going to react when Roman Reigns asked him to acknowledge him? I didn't know how he was going to react to getting slapped by Cody Rhodes. I didn't know how he was going to react to anything, because even though it was also The Rock that I knew and loved, it was different enough where it also felt like at any moment it was like a barrel of TNT, and I didn't know if it was about to be set off. Like it was such a weird feeling knowing I love this guy. I'm going from cheering him, I'm saying all his catchphrases, to like at moments almost kind of being scared of him because I didn't know what he was bringing to the table.
He's a scary dude, man. The final boss was scary. And it kind of threw me back into the time machine because it reminded me of the Attitude Era days where he had no idea where it was going to go. I mean, the beatdown of Cody Rhodes, it's something that we haven't seen in WWE in a long time. And that to me felt like we are blurring the lines of pro wrestling and what is like entertainment. Like it crossed over. And I think that's what this version of The Rock was so different from the WWE Hollywood Rock. That WWE Hollywood Rock was a guy who was pretending to be the most famous man in wrestling. This in the world, even. This guy is the most famous guy in the world, and he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. In that moment when Raw went off of air, and he's like, nah, we're not done. The final boss is not done. This is, and of course, more expletives, but that to me felt like, okay, what's real, what's not real? What is this? The Rock that the chairman of the board type of Rock that's coming in type of beat? It was good, dude. And I think what like I said, what made it the best was The Rock was willing to go there. As someone with that magnitude of fame, to go into somewhere where he makes kids cry, he makes his fans wonder what's going on, and to continue to keep posting. And that's why I wanted to bring up in the pod too, Santi, is that he's still posting final boss stuff.
Yeah,
it's not
done.
over.
He's here.
He's not done.
Dude, and you know, you're mentioning that he's still posting, final boss promos on Instagram, but I also feel like the lead up to it, his posts on Instagram added so much to the realism of this, because when I saw a promo of his on Instagram, I felt like, man, this is a Rock that even he knows he's not allowed to say this stuff on TV. So, but he still needs to get it out. He still needs to make sure that the world knows. But then you get on TV and like he's just as vile as he was being on the Instagram posts. And I do think it is this moment in time. I do think it is going to be a vacuum in time that we look back on, and it might need to be studied. Like somebody might need to make some sort of dissertation, a paper on this final boss run as to how The Rock completely turned the expectations of what you're used to expecting on WWE TV as well as PG television, and how he was able to stretch those boundaries, not just for the people watching at home, but for the people in the arena as well, with the extra gear that he took, the extra violence, the extra realism, the extra Brahma Bull, if you want to call it that. This, like I keep referring to it, this explosive barrel that only The Rock is able to set off the way that he did.
When I saw him the first time with that Versace shirt, I was like, we're in for a ride.
Yeah.
This is it. He is back. It is old. Actually, one thing I want to point out too, that you talked about WrestleMania 40, that I feel like we haven't really, like we talked about, studied and took a step back. Look at who was involved in that night 2 of Mania. Rock, Cena, Taker. And you had Cody and Roman. It's like we talked about the eras. Right there is the perfect era to be mixed into right now. Literally, it felt like a passing of the baton between the old guard and the new guard. You had The Rock out there in the ring, the Undertaker showing up. Like, it was wild, man. I like the think about it is just crazy.
Dude, there's that beautiful edit of like The Rock and Cena staring at each other, and somebody edited from all the way back in 2011. I saw Undertaker say in his podcast that when The Rock turned around, that he felt like he was back in 1998.
That's cool, dude.
Like he kind of forgot that it was 2024, that he was retired. When The Rock turned around after the gong, after the lights came back on, and had that dumbfounded look on his face of I cannot believe that the ghost of WrestleMania is here. Taker's like, and so many people were like, we're back in 1998. Have you seen the compilations of like girlfriends being like, ladies, can you explain to me why every man became a 5-year-old when this thing happened? And it's like it's like obviously everything that we saw at WrestleMania 40, the gong, Taker, Cena, The Rock. It's tough to explain, but it elicited like the same response from everyone.
For sure. And it's a great thing to like introduce the world to Cody Rhodes. Like, hey, there's this guy here, Cody, that every one of these guys are working for to put him to finish the story. And I thought that was cool too. But man, I'm excited for Rock versus Cody. I know that's going to happen. I've been calling it. It's since day one.
It's got to happen. You cannot have Cody Rhodes talk as much crap as he has about The Rock and not eat a couple rock bottoms and have to face a match or face off against The Rock. He's gotta.
Well, Cody has to get his comeback too.
Of course.
I mean, Cody ate a rock bottom. Yeah.
Would Cody beat The Rock? I don't know, dude. I don't know if Cody would beat The Rock. If you told me Cody and The Rock are facing off against SummerSlam, I'm mortgaging my newly purchased home again, and I'm putting my money on The Rock.
You want a prediction?
Hit me.
Remember, where's The Rock right now? Where's The Rock right now? As we speak, what is he doing?
Is it Moana 2?
No. Well, possibly. He's training.
Oh.
He's training for Smashing Machine, which is an MMA movie. The dude is getting MMA training. The Rock's going to come out with a new submission. The dude's going to be scary. He's going to be lean. He's going to be mean. And you thought this was the final boss. No. You know, like in a video game when you beat the final boss, like, oh, cool. And then he comes out.
Yeah, he's going to come out Dark Souls style where you took him out and then the health bar regenerates.
Yes.
Yeah, man, I can't wait for that version of the final boss. I will say this run of the final boss, I do think is going to go down as legendary. I think it's going to be iconic. I think it's a type of wrestling storyline that will never ever be able to be replicated ever again. I think it was a thing that you had to be there for. And I'm sure when The Rock comes back, he'll create something else that's special. But that initial run of the final boss is legendary. Like, seriously, I can't compare it to anything else. And that's when I know that we have something that's a one of a kind. When I can't look back at the 60 years of professional wrestling history and I can't compare anything to that. There's nothing that's happened in the history of wrestling that I can compare the final boss's run to.
He leaned in, man. He leaned in. And that's all we were asking for The Rock. The dude showed up multiple times, and get that pop and nostalgia, beat up a heel, beat up Jinder. Sorry, Jinder. Beat up Jinder, beat up A-Town. And he just always left. And we're like, no. Don't leave. But I love,
But he
dude.
stayed.
But he stayed. He stayed, and he gave us something special, like you mentioned. And the reason why it can't be replicated because there's no one like The Rock. And I know a lot of people, were like, he's overshadowing Roman, he's overshadowing everybody. It's because that's just The Rock,
It's
man.
The Rock, dude.
He's the most electrifying man. But the thing is, he wasn't selfish with his time in the ring. He did a lot of work to make sure that he put people over. And what's so interesting now to take to put into now, right, is The Rock. Because again, we're getting more Solo Sakoa, and I love Solo Sakoa. I love this version of dripped out, wearing black suits, wearing black t-shirts, gold chain Solo Sakoa. My question to you, is The Rock the tribal chief? Now that we're getting more tints of it.
I mean, I do think that it's The Rock pulling the strings here. I think it's too on the nose and too obviously hypocritical for Solo Sakoa to go around saying losing has consequences. I don't think those are his words. I think
of course not when he's 40.
Yeah,
40.
exactly. I don't think that this is a situation where WWE is like, forget what you saw. Yeah, Solo hasn't lost 40 times in a row. You haven't seen anything. I think they're keenly aware that we know that. That's why he apparently just lost a recent house show match against LA Knight. I think they want. I think that they want the ones that are paying attention to recognize that it doesn't make sense for him to say losing has consequences when he's on this legendary losing streak, because I don't think that losing has consequences are his words. I think they're The Rock's words.
God, The Rock is a puppeteer. Dude, Daddy has to go home for a while. Daddy's going bye-bye. So good. I know, man, What an awesome time. And I think this was a great way to remind people who The Rock was. And for the people that never experienced what the Attitude Era Rock was, what a great way. What a great way to do it. And I'm so happy that we got it. It kind of reminds me, let me take it back. Reminds me of Fortnite OG. I don't know if y'all out there that have ever played Fortnite, but Fortnite dipped back in time and we went back to chapter 1 for just a little bit to recapture that magic that we once were. And man,
it got me back to watching streamers, Fortnite streamers. I was watching quite a bit of Fortnite OG.
There you go. The Rock is OG, baby.
A couple other things that some housekeeping stuff that we should talk about. King of the Ring is actually shaping out to be one heck of a potentially really awesome main event worthy tournament for the men. Yes, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay. 1,
Gunther is in it. 2, Drew McIntyre has hinted that he's going to be in it as well. But I like that Gunther said, when I win this thing, I'm not going to prance around in a robe. I'm not going to be some sort of buffoon dressing up like a king. He didn't say those exact words, but that's what I took away from that.
Gunther lost the gold. Gunther lost the gold.
First of all, Gunther, where you gold at?
Gold at. No, I feel this is a misplay.
Sorry, one last thing. Did it not also sound that Gunther maybe was alluding to winner of King of the Ring gets a world championship opportunity?
That's what I was trying to figure out, because I felt, someone in the comments was like, hey, it's because the King of the Ring gets to pick whatever title. I was like, do they remember? I don't remember Xavier ever getting that, or is that the new stipulation that they're adding that they haven't announced yet? Because this was a very odd promo from Gunther on Monday Night Raw, because it felt like a face promo, and it was a sign of weakness that I thought Imperium was going to turn on him when they did turn on Giovanni. But I thought this was going to be the place where Gunther gets turned on, and he possibly could be a face, because he was getting face-like reactions from the crowd about saying that, he did his best carrying the title, and he brought a legacy, 666 days. But then when he said, I am going after the King of the Ring, I was like, man, shouldn't she be going after the heavyweight title? Shouldn't she be going after the undisputed title? Because that's what we're all been waiting for. And for him to sidestep that into a side quest to be King of the Ring was quite odd to me. That's all.
There is the rule of the wasteland, Sancho. Always getting sidetracked by bullshit. Famous line from the new Fallout show. And I think this is a Gunther side quest here. I think he is going to get sidetracked by bullshit. But I would like it more if the WWE went back in time and said, winner of King of the Ring gets a championship opportunity at a PLE. They did it with Lesnar back in 2002. You won King of the Ring, you get The Rock at SummerSlam. That's how it should be. They should mean something. It shouldn't just be you get the cosplay as monarchy. You know, you should actually get something in return for winning King of the Ring, not just the moniker. And that's what I was taking away from that, even though he didn't explicitly say that perhaps King of the Ring is going to go back to a time where the winner gets a match at Clash of the Castle, at Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, whatever it might be. And I'm down for that because it should be more than just, you know, I'm King Nakamura, you know?
I don't really think that it should be Gunther though. I don't think it adds to his legacy. Like you said it
from general to king. You don't see it.
That in itself is always a great story where a general becomes a king. That's like a Shakespearean thing. That's
man, he's going full Napoleon Bonaparte, gonna become the emperor of WWE.
It's King Richard III as well when it comes to Shakespeare, man. There's nothing like it.
Dude, can we talk more about how underrated King Henry IV was? Just underrated monarch. Really just took the bull by the horns.
It was the new era.
Why don't we list our favorite things about King Henry IV? Go ahead, Sancho.
This is great. It's gonna be a great TikTok. Godly, you're dumb.
We're 50 minutes in, man. This is where we can talk about King Henry IV if we wanted to.
There's breaking. Talking about history. I'm out. Okay, Gunther is going to do his thing. What about Queen of the Ring? Who's going to be the one that gets to be the, like, I get to pick a title shot? Because that's what's weird to me. Like, when you say there's already mechanics that have that. If this is a video game, we already have, like, Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank. We already have so many PLEs that get that. So if we're going to add another one, who's going to be the Queen of the Ring to get her title shot?
That's I think Queen Tiffy would be great, or I feel like King and Queen of the Ring 99.9% of the time needs to be a heel. It just needs to be. So Queen of the Ring, give me Tiffy or Chelsea Green.
Yes.
Give me Tiffy or Chelsea. One of those
Queen
two.
Chelsea, dude. She'd come out with the crown and everything, and then you have Piper Niven being her she could be her Brianna Tarth, dude.
Oh, Brianna Tarth, or the Mountain, the Hound. Yes, I like it.
Yes. Dude, it's a shame that Matt Hardy's not coming to WWE.
He was smart though, capitalizing on all the rumors in WWE to hype up something, and it ended up being his TNA return. I think that was smart. It is. I mean, like, I feel like that's a good spot for him. Do you think that there would have been anything for him to do in WWE realistically, aside from a cool return nostalgia pop? I don't think so. And I say this because we have Carlito there as a perfect example. It's just
that breaks my heart, dude.
Right? And I feel like that's where Matt Hardy would end up anyway.
Doesn't Carlito look like he's lost when he's out there?
Carlito looks like he's moving at half the pace because it almost looks like he has no love for what he's doing right now.
Yeah. He kind of nailed it. Like every time he walks out there, he just looks like he's like, what am I doing here? Like they won't let him spit apples all the time. And I think whatever he's doing has been delayed. Because remember, he signed to TK a long time ago, and then they waited and waited and waited. And now he's doing a program that I don't think he has his heart behind. It's not there for Carlito. And I just can't wait for them to pull the trigger already and make Carlito heel. You convinced me that Carlito is best as heel, and you're right. You're right.
Thank you. I told you that this babyface Carlito wasn't going to work.
Yeah, but you didn't think it would last this long. Remember, you said it was going to be like the next PLE?
Dude, I thought it was going to be the PLE he debuted at. I literally thought it was going to be his PLE debut when he came in late to his tag match. If you remember, I thought it was literally going to be right then, right there. Is it too late for a Carlito heel turn to save this?
Nah.
You think a heel turn would
nostalgia
right.
rules?
Yeah, man. If he comes
that old music comes in, dude, speaking of music, God, these Death Rebel memes are gold, brother. They're so good, dude.
Have you seen the Undertaker Death Rebel where it's the gong from Taco Bell?
Yes. My favorite is people finding the producer tag for everybody.
Yes.
And it's like Roman has believe in the Shield, and then his music kicks in. Like it's always
I saw the Stone Cold one where it was like, "Give me a hell yeah!" Glass breaks, and then it's like, just like the most like generic WWE 2K24 create a superstar song ever. Man, Def Rebel is they they've got a couple of good ones, like Roman Reigns' theme is Def
good.
Rebel. They've got
Rhea.
some bangers, but they are undeniably on a historic stretch of terrible theme songs. That is also true.
Hey, there's always truth behind a meme, brother. And they're getting called out for that producer tag because remember they got notes that, oh, we don't know who this wrestler's coming out in the Royal Rumble. It's very generic. And so they just, like anything, they just overcompensated. It's like AJ's is bad, like the whole thing.
They don't want none. New Catch Republic!
It's Tiffy time.
Role model.
Oh, God.
Bow to the queen. Man, like Charlotte's theme did not need changing.
It didn't. It didn't.
Dude, it's, somebody said on Twitter, it's like, well, it's annoying that people are complaining about these producer tags when they've done this before in the past. You got Triple H's theme saying, "I time to play the game," but that's different. That's different. I'll give you The Rock's "If You Smell," but that's
different.
Dude, it's different because that was the exception, not the rule. Now they're making it into the rule instead of the exception, where it's like you said, man. I think that their music just doesn't hit with fans, and they're just taking the cheap way out by telling the fans who's coming out with these producer tags. And it sucks, dude. It sucks.
I mean, back in the day, you could even go as far back as I'm trying to remember, like the American Dream had that "It's America."
Yeah, it's part of the song though.
Right. And then at the same time with Hacksaw, I think he had the "Oh," and then he came out. So it's just, to me, I don't know what's it like to create music for wrestlers, but I do know what it tastes like, and it's not tasting great.
yeah. I'm seeing people being like, well, you can't, what is it? Like, you can't complain if you can't do better. It's like, okay, first of all, that's stupid because, well, am I not allowed to review food because I'm not a chef? Am I not allowed to say this panini sucks because I wasn't trained in the fine arts of creating paninis? Huh? Is that what you're saying? It's dumb. I can't say that a movie sucks because I'm not a director. I can hear something and instantly, like, my gut says this isn't good. And that's a lot of what this like 3-month stretch of Death Rebel themes have been. They've been bad.
Oh man, I miss CFO. CFO was good. CFO had the
CFO, dude. I thought you were saying CFL. I'm like, you like the Canadian Football League?
No, it's CFO, dude.
The Toronto Argonauts?
No.
Saskatchewan Roughriders?
No, you and your dumb sweaters. No, I miss CFO, man.
People clowned on them too, though.
They did
at the time, but they're way better.
Cass and Enzo's theme was still hits today, dude.
So good. I do think that I'm sure it's also Def Rebel, but like I look at NXT, like they've got some banger themes over there. Elias theme is a banger. The Family's theme is a banger. Like they I know they can do a good job without becoming a meme, but they've memed themselves. You catch Republic. That's the worst one. The worst one.
I'm sorry. I feel bad. At the very beginning of this entire podcast, we said, "Hey, AEW fans, we have a segment," and it's an hour and 7 minutes past.
AEW Dynasty was a pretty good show. It was a really good show, actually. Dude, we even if it's 2 minutes, we have to talk about AEW. We said we had an AEW segment.
I was just looking at the timestamp. I'm like, oh my God, it's been an hour and 7 minutes.
Oops.
Yes. Okay. Listen. Now that I got my bearings here. On the internet, and that's always a bad way to start a segment. On the internet, people are saying Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson was the match of the year. Now, I watched that match, and you could take what I say with a grain of salt because, I favorite WWE more. I watch that product more. But as someone that wants to watch AEW more, right? Who wants to be involved in the brand, who wants to watch on a weekly basis. The thing about when it comes to media, I always have two trains of thought, Santi. There is it meeting you halfway, or do you have to meet it halfway? In a sense where the WWE, yes, it kind of feeds you storylines, and it makes sure you understand the story, and will give it to you over and over again, and it makes it easy for you to digest, especially if you're a casual, right? That's why they have the whole vignettes and they have the video packages. AEW's product, you have to meet halfway. You need to meet it halfway to really enjoy what it's presenting. You have to know the history of the American Dragon, Brian Danielson. You need to know all of his history, his indie, his WWE, his AEW run to get to this point. You need to know everything about Will Ospreay to get to this point of his entire run, his New Japan run into AEW, so that when you see this match on a piece of paper, you go, this will be the greatest match ever. And oftentimes you jump to that conclusion because you know what they can do. But when it doesn't have, when sometimes you can't meet it halfway due to whatever reasons, you just don't have time to meet it halfway, then you're not going to fully enjoy it. And you're not going to understand the nuances of it. It was a fantastic match. It was by far a better pro wrestling match when it comes down to Cody versus Roman. But the reason why I think Cody versus Roman's stickier is because we already talked about the moments it had in there, the gravitas to everything that it adds, the branching out moments that you can go beyond does WrestleMania 40. This right here of Daniel Bryanson and Will Ospreay has like a very three-match legacy, and that's about it. And if you only remember it, like for me, I remember Kenny Omega versus Okada and the banger of the matches they had, but I don't remember why.
Sure, I hear you.
I'm not. I'm just saying. I want to be involved more.
I hear
want
you.
To meet you halfway,
but I feel like you at that point are trying to use WWE logic to dive into AEW, and I think that that's a mistake. Because
no, not necessarily. Well, I don't want to be spoon-fed the story. I just want something to be there beyond. These are two great wrestlers going at it.
Yeah, but I think that's what AEW fans want ultimately. I do think that that's what the majority of the hardcore fan base of AEW is totally okay with, because they are the ones that know the history of Okada and know the history of Ospreay and know the history of Danielson. So matches like these, I do think plays very, very well to the AEW fan base, which is a fan base that loved WWE enough to seek out an alternative platform for the thing that the type of wrestling that they like, and that's AEW. So it works there. So when you go in with the mentality of wanting to have them meet you halfway there, I don't think that that's the AEW experience that they're trying to provide for you. I think you're trying to find the WWE experience within an AEW product, and I think that's where you can actually go wrong. And that's where I actually think a lot of people go wrong when they say AEW has no stories to their matches. Well, there are. It's just harder to be able, it's just not as readily present as a WWE narrative or as a WWE storyline. I'll say I think this match was phenomenal. It really was amazing from an in-ring perspective. But I'm sorry, Roman versus Cody Rhodes. Wrestling is more than just what happens in the ring. It just is. It's so much more than that. And Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns was the perfect package of everything that WWE and professional wrestling is. Because the in-ring aspect is part of it. It's not the entire package. And I just felt like Cody Roman was the entire package of a great in-ring match with all of the earned fan service that you could possibly imagine. Great narrative threads, great callbacks, and like a level of excitement that I don't think could ever be matched again.
And again, I hate the name change for Daniel Bryan because my dyslexia just right, Bryan Danielson and all that. So forgive me for that. I struggle, and I'm sure a lot of us do struggle with that as well. I agree with you, and the thing is, when I'm not trying to defend myself. I'm not trying to make it a WWE product or any kind of way, and I know you're not coming at me for that, right? That's your observation.
You're a WWE colonizer, is what you are.
I loved AEW, and I feel that when I was that guy looking for the alternative from the WWE, because at the time when AEW appeared, the WWE was a monopoly, and it did not relent in its ways, and the product was getting stale for me because the production wasn't there and the storylines weren't engaging enough to keep going. AEW presented this notion of it's a fantasy land where the things that you wanted to happen in WWE would happen here. You like that guy? You think this person should be over? It's going to happen in AEW. You think this big name should go against this big name? Whatever, what brands is going to happen, it's going to happen here at AEW. And that's what it was. And that's what it's starting to cook. And I will say, after Dynasty, they are riding the ship. It's turning. It's turning into the right direction. Adam Cole came back and he walked. You have a new champion in Swerve Strickland. That's going to be a great person to watch on television for weeks, months, hopefully a year or so to come. And you had a great, of course, Will Ospreay is a fantastic highlight. He is going to be the guy that you're going to draw, that you're going to be like, hey, I want to watch this guy wrestle. It's the same reason why when I flew to Tokyo to hang out, I was like, dude, Kenny Omega's wrestling. I heard he's a great wrestler and he puts on banger matches no matter what. I want to see that. And that's the draw that AEW has. The only concern that I have for the AEW likes in that style of wrestling is you can't protect your assets that long. There's going to be so much high risk for producing memorable matches that at the end of the day, you could have a stronger match if you just throttle it a hair down and add a little bit of the little Y in there, and you're going to have just as strong of a match, in my opinion. Because, like, that's what I mean. Like, there's, like, you could edit one or two moves off that match, and you'd be like, you will still have that same thought, this is the greatest match of the year.
All right, Sancho. Greatest match of the year. Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 40. Or Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay at AEW Dynasty. And you can use whatever measure you like to use.
I think for the impact, my greatest measurement for a match is, like I mentioned during our WrestleMania review, is what's the fallout beyond that. And I think WrestleMania 40's fallout will grow beyond that. The resources that WrestleMania 40 of Cody versus Roman will feed that company a lot longer than Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay.
There you go. Yeah, for me, it's just about emotions and feelings. And I just felt so much more during Cody Rhodes versus Roman at WrestleMania 40. I was in awe, don't get me wrong, of Ospreay versus Danielson. It was just such a freaking unbelievably good match. But it wasn't the roller coaster of emotions that Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns took me through. That to me is still my wrestling match of the year. If you want to do a different category of best in-ring performance, you're not going to touch Danielson Ospreay this year. Nothing's going to touch that.
That high noon ending finish where they're both staring at each other.
It was so good.
It was so good, dude. And you have you have Bryan Danielson doing his yes chant very slowly, and then Will Ospreay just staring at him with the hidden blade, and he takes, like, all that stuff, that chemistry, that in-ring psychology could be highlighted if you and protected. That's the one thing. I love Bryan Danielson, but please stop selling like you're on the death's door, because we know you have issues, and it scares me every time. And you could knock me for that, but he knows what he's doing. If he sells that way, if he's legitimate injured, I think AEW needs to handle the way they handle legitimate injuries a little bit better. But I think Will Ospreay is a star in the making. I think if he stays, and I don't want to say stay in your lane, I think if he just focuses on who's there in front of him and the talent that's available, and if they book him properly in a sense of not making him like they did in that match with Daniel Bryan, I think it worked really well.
All right. There you go.
I'm excited for AEW. And we didn't really talk about Swerve Strickland. And the one thing that I think that was the kind of like the downbeat of that entire thing was they did not have a better option to give the FTW belt to anyone else, and they gave it to Jericho. They could have easily given it to, was his name
Takeshita.
They could have easily gave it to him or something.
Dude,
like that.
I just think AEW has 4 men's mid-card titles. What is that? FTW title, international, Continental,
FTW is not
and TNT? What?
Well, FTW is not an AEW belt. It's a belt that could go anywhere.
Oh,
it's just one of those belts that floats promotions, and it was given to Taz. I think Taz created it, but the whole point is what I brought that up for. I think Hook's going to he's going to NXT, man.
I think so too. I think honestly, I think it's a better place for him.
100%.
I do think that that NXT is a better place for him. Just start at something smaller scale and just be built from the ground up by Shawn Michaels, man. Like there's no better person.
There's no better way.
I know
Taz would say that. And one thing I want to ask you a quick question here, because I know we're near the end and we still have new order, and I know you have to go soon. Do you think that more AEW stars are willing now to go to WWE versus WWE stars going over to AEW.
100%. I don't know if that's necessarily like, not exactly that I think that more AEW stars are more likely to go to WWE than WWE stars go to AEW. I still think that the appeal of AEW is there. Money. Money, like that, like at the end of the day, like this is what this is why they do what they do. They're putting food on the table, and money talks. So I still think that that's the big appeal of AEW. I do think that the appeal of AEW, of it being like, oh, it's a place where now you're going to be able to make a name for yourself. It's a place where you're going to be able to not be shackled by the Vince McMahons of the world. I think that allure is gone. I don't think that that's the case, especially how we've seen so many former WWE stars go to AEW and just not get used properly and end up having to come back like Andrade did. I think that NXT right now is more appealing than ever before, with them pulling crowds of 16, 17,000 at NXT Stand and Deliver. They have a TV deal with the CW that I think is going to... I wouldn't be surprised if in the CW, NXT is doing over 1 million views, because that's not premium network, right? That's available.
No, that's like
basic, right?
Basic cable. Yeah.
If it's on basic, I wouldn't be surprised if it does over 1 million viewers. When it goes to Netflix, like, I just think that the reach of NXT is going to be very, very appealing for AEW superstars that before wouldn't have wanted to go to NXT and have to do the minor leagues. Like Julia went to NXT, but Julia's more than ready to go to the main roster, but she's going to do her NXT time. On top of that, I do feel like the WWE has done a very responsible job of showing the world how they would treat AEW talent that comes to WWE. You've seen the red carpet that they rolled out for Jade Cargill. That's at the tippity top, right? Like, that's going to tell the AEW superstars, look how I'm going to be treated. If you want to look somewhere more in the middle, wow, look at all this TV time that Andrade is getting. If you want to look at the youngsters, the Hooks of the world, they're going to be able to look and see, oh, look at all this awesome TV time and how well they're treating Lexis King, former Brian Pillman Jr. in NXT. So I feel like WWE has become far more appealing for AEW talent to come over than it was a year ago.
You know what also was cool that whole week?
What?
That whole Tony Storm, dude.
She's so good, man. She's so good.
What a great banger of a promo afterwards, man. Or was it before? It was before. She cut a promo about like the demons that she makes love to the demons in her hell, something like that. It's so good.
I love anytime it cuts to her, it's black and white. Like, that to me is such a great running gag. I love it.
I love that she has the highs, the mids, and the lows now of her character. And I think that's when you really start cooking as a wrestler, is when you figure out your gimmicks surface level and when you get deep down into the evil inside your character for a heel. And she's definitely found that out. And I thank goodness they have someone like Thunder Rosa on there, that talent to bring that out, because Thunder Rosa is Lucha Underground a veteran. So like I said, AEW, you have good things going for you. And if MJF, when he comes back, you guys are going to be putting up those numbers again, guaranteed.
That was actually a pretty lengthy AEW segment. There you go, AEW fans.
There you go.
There you go. New Heat Order. Sancho.
New Heat Order.
New Heat Order. What was our top 10 from last week?
If you're new to the show, the New Heat Order is not necessarily who's the best wrestlers. It's just who's creating the buzz, the hype, the must-see TV that we want to, the final boss energy that we want to see in the next coming days. And so your top 10 for the New Heat Order is 1, Solo Sakoa, 2, Cody Rhodes, 3, Chad Gable, 4, Sami Zayn, 5, Uncle Howdy, 6, Liv Morgan, 7, AJ Styles, 8, LA Knight, 9, Tama Tonga, and 10, Jey Uso. So after a SmackDown... Actually, this is the New Heat Order after a Raw.
It is a new Heat Order after a Raw. Okay, so like at first glance, people that I want moved up, AJ Styles and Tama Tonga.
Okay, I will note that.
People that I think should make the list now should be Becky Lynch.
Okay, time out. Let's take people off first. That's always easier. Let's create the room. Don't you say it. Don't just shut up. Let me do it. He's my boy. All right. I'm gonna have to do it. Let me do it. All right. Let me take them all back. All right.
Who are we taking off, Sancho?
I have to take out LA Knight. All right. Because
that feels good to hear you say.
and by the way, what a lame way to go, an eye gouge. I tweeted it out. This is the same way how Naomi went against Tiffany Stratton, an eye gouge.
Eye gouge.
Eye gouge.
All right, so
LA
LA
Knight's
Knight is
gone.
off.
But I'm happy that he's off because at the same time, Cody Rhodes would have buried him.
So
Because that's what they like to do with LA Knight. They like to nerf and bury him by sending them out to their top faces and top heels when he deserves a chance to be on the microphone. When's the last time you heard a good LA Knight promo for a good chunk of time like he was during the SmackDown days?
it's because he's the Nakamura of SmackDown now, man.
Isn't that a bummer that Nakamura is being jobbed out too? Justice for Nakamura.
Anyways, what do we think should be in the top 5?
Okay, the top 5.
I think Solo's still up there.
Solo's still up there because he still had a,
I think Tama Tonga, with what he did to Kevin Owens, might be top 5. He might be top 5.
Yeah, dude, that was clean. Because what a great way to protect Kevin Owens too. Because I thought, oh my God, Kevin Owens is getting beat up by Tama Tonga. No, Tama Tonga is just crazy. He just crashed into his car.
There's also
a rental car, by the way.
Yeah, a rental car. There's also no explanation yet as to why they went after Kevin Owens, which I think is great.
I thought because he was just the toughest guy in the room. When they had the locker room, remember when he was like,
is that a good enough reason for this? Look, listen, can I hear me out before we get to this? Hear me out.
Here we go.
I think that Solo Sakoa is going to go after everyone that the Bloodline feuded with until Roman returns. And instead of taking a more political approach and having matches, he's just going to destroy them.
Yeah.
Which is how he would have handled things had he been tribal chief. And I think it starts with Kevin Owens. Wouldn't be surprised if they end up going after Sami Zayn, at some point Cody Rhodes. I think that they're going to go after all of those guys that oppose the Bloodline at some point or another.
And Paul Heyman's just going to lose it. I hope Paul
He's
Heyman
going gray again. Did you notice?
I hope he goes, oh, he is?
Yeah.
Nice. Hey, Paul Heyman is the MVP of that entire thing. Without Paul Heyman, that thing's not getting sold that well.
Agreed. Okay, so
and Nick Aldis is really good too. I wish Nick Aldis is on my bubble. He's handling it very well. He's like a stern father, and I like that.
So, do we have Solo at 1 still? Both of us?
I'm trying to think what happened on Monday Night Raw. Like, did anything happen on Monday Night Raw to be able to boister anybody that to usurp Solo Sikoa? I mean,
Cody, there was the Chad Gable promo.
Yeah, he burned people. He roasted people. And poor Otis. I felt bad for Otis the most. He looks like a big Bobby Hill every time I look at Otis now.
But I don't think anything usurps Solo and Tama Tonga really from Raw.
I mean, you had the new Becky. This Becky Lynch is not even in our top 10. Does she crack the top 10?
Oh, she does. I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'll make a note of that. I don't know. I'm thinking like what happened on Raw. I mean, Drew had his thing. Sheamus has to crack the top 10. I know we're trying to figure out the top 5. I think we're trying to figure out the top 5 here.
But
I don't think anyone beats Solo. If that's the word.
Okay. All right. I'm just trying to figure out our number 1. Okay. So Solo at number 1.
Solo is 1. Does Cody Rhodes stay on the list?
I mean, he wasn't on the last episode of SmackDown, and he wasn't on Raw.
He did a New Japan type promo boistering AJ Styles.
Come on, that shouldn't count. That's my opinion. That shouldn't count. I think Cody's off the list for this week.
I want you to say it because it's not my call.
Cody Rhodes is off the list. I don't think people are gonna be mad. I feel like there's good reason for it.
Oh, you haven't met the Cody fans as I have.
All right, so we have Solo and numero uno.
I would put Tama Tonga at 2?
I think we should put Tama Tonga at 2. I think Tama Tonga at 2.
Tama Tonga's scary, dude. I agree with that.
I would still say Chad Gable at 3. Me personally.
Chad Gable at 3. Maybe.
What else? What's ahead of him?
I mean, he roasted them, sure. He's an evil heel. What, the Gunther doesn't make it for you anywhere? Gunther
Not yet.
Kicking out his boy.
Well, that was Ludwig. I would say Ludwig might be up there.
But at the orders of Gunther.
Yeah.
You didn't see, you went backstage?
I know. I saw the backstage thing, but it was a beautiful beatdown from Ludwig.
Okay. Before we get into this, did Ricochet make the list again? No, right?
God, no.
Does Andrade finally get in the list?
I would say no.
Okay. So Andrade's not in. JD, Ricochet. Does Damian He's not on our list, dude.
He might I think he'd crack it. Like the promo with Jay, him beating down Andrade and Ricochet to demonstrate that he's he's handling business.
We're getting our names. So who's third behind? You see Chad still
I'm saying Chad. I can't think of somebody more impactful than Chad this week.
I think Becky should be third.
Okay, fine. Well, I can do if you're willing, Becky 3, Chad 4.
Okay, I'm willing. Does Sammy retain his spot? I mean, Sammy did get beat up by Bronson Reed.
I'd probably have Jey Uso over Sammy.
I agree. When he gets into that Uso penitentiary vibe.
Yeah, and I freaking died laughing when he's like, when you see mommy, tell her I said, ah.
Do that too well, dude. Do you do that with your missus, dude?
Of course, every time.
Oh, gross. I don't want to know. All right, Jey Uso at... Okay, we haven't talked about it. Uncle Howdy, man. It's getting closer, dude. I've never seen so... You're not there yet? Dude, you don't even sell the QR code. Your chat's blowing up about it. Everybody's blowing. I'm rushing to post it because I'm excited. It's creepy.
I know, dude, sell it. I just want to see it finally happen.
You're at that point, huh?
I'm at that point. I didn't get into the Easter eggs of the White Rabbit when Bray was coming back. I know the internet was so into it. Look, man, I don't like escape rooms. I don't like puzzles. I'm too dumb for them.
I'm putting it at 10. I'm putting it at 10, Dumbo. Okay.
Fine. If you fine, I'll let you win that fight. You can have it.
Does Awesome Truth make the list? Awesome Truth had no. Dude, hello, R-Truth, the only man in second man in WWE history to survive a sweet chin music into a pedigree and to kick out. No love for R-Truth.
All right. Okay. You know what? Look, I'm gonna be honest. During that match, I was listening to a bunch of Def Rebel memes. I missed a lot of that match. Number 9, Def Rebel.
Oh my god!
No, we can put Awesome Truth. I'll trust your judgment.
I'm putting him at 9. They had a banger of a match. Great title defense. DIY had a fantastic match against him. R-Truth literally survived so much, and again, he survived the Sweet Chin Music and pedigree, and no one else did that besides the Undertaker.
That's true.
All right, so that leaves us with 6, 7, and 8.
Okay.
6, 7, or 8 on the board, and we still have Liv Morgan and AJ Styles.
AJ Styles should be on that list, and frankly, maybe even Liv Morgan. She's still creating so much buzz.
Dude, would you put Liv above AJ?
No, AJ's a number 1 contender. He back-to-back banger matches, the triple threat, the match against
he didn't really
LA
do
Knight.
anything on SmackDown, though.
He beat LA Knight.
Was that on SmackDown?
Yeah, to become the number 1 contender.
Maybe I'm traumatized. I blanked out.
Maybe.
All right. Liv Morgan at 7 or 8 then?
Let's do 8.
All right. Then who's 7? Who's the one that's getting you going?
Did we not have Damian Priest here?
No, we didn't have Damian Priest on the last list.
Okay, I think we should on this list. I think Damian should jump into that 7 spot.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't too convinced with this promo.
It was actually a weaker promo. I didn't think it was fantastic, but
it's very subtle, and I think he's trying to find out what his is. Like I mentioned, different layers, right? He has the yelling down pat. He has the backstage stuff down pat. He does not have the in-ring promo yet. He needs to figure out. He's working on it. I just hope people give him time to work on it. And there's a difference between someone who's polished and doing promos versus someone who's trying to figure it out.
Thank God they added the All Rise to his entrance theme. Otherwise, I wouldn't know it was coming out.
What would be your producer tag?
I don't know, dude.
Comments down below.
Yeah, what would our producer tags be?
Yeah, what would be mine? What would be mine?
Yours would definitely be like Sancho Mania.
Something really, really Latin, just to make sure everyone knows I'm a Latin superstar.
Of course. All right, so we have our 10.
We have our 10, and now this is a new heat order. Leave a comment down below. Let us know if you disagree. And if you're watching or listening on a podcast, come on over to the YouTube and let us know as well. You have Solo Sakoa at 1, 2 Tama Tonga at 2, and 3 Becky Lynch, 4 Chad Gable, 5 Jey Uso, 6 AJ Styles, 7 Damian Priest, 8 Liv Morgan, 9 Awesome Truth, and 10 Uncle Howdy.
That, folks, is our episode. of Wrestling is Cool. Hopefully you enjoyed that, Sancho. Thanks so much for joining us. Before we head out, just a quick shout out to our patrons at the $15 tier who are making the world go round. Thank you for supporting us and helping us do what we do. So an extra special shout out goes to those at the $15 tier, starting off with 2022 Benjamin, Adrian Liu, Alex McClay, Anita Max Win, Ben Calloway, Bryce Burt, Caleb Owens, Callum Wood again. Shout out to Callum for having 2 accounts. Carter, CB, Chris the Postman, Cody Cook, Connor Williamson, David Miller, Dingleberry, Evo Isatch, Gavin Alves, George Valdez, Gilbert Deans, Harvey Couchman, Ileana, Jacob Simons, James Abel, Gene, Jonathan Daly, Jordan Lynch, Juice Man, Jeremy Gross, Julio Aguilar, Lil Shifu, Lucas Wittenhagen, Malik Graham, Manly Man, Manny IDK, Mason Kirk, Matthew Reach, Monte Moore, Mabusher Khan, Nick Harvey, Nicholas Kyle, Ollie, Owen Miller, Phoenix, RTA, Ricky Dutcher, Robert Dalton. There are so many of you now. This is awesome. Robert Dick Butt, nice. Scoob Dub Nation, Silver Football. Stick with me, Sancho. There's a page 2. Ooh. Spencer, Squirts McIntosh. People are going to start to come up with these ridiculous names for these. There was one that a while ago that was Mr. Krabs get a glass, I'm squirting, or something like that. No, it was Spongeby Boy, get a glass, I'm squirting, or something like that. Anyway, Steven Rhodes, Stephen M.A., Stucky, Super Malachi Galaxy, Joe Man 21, Kingslayer, Tobias Burnett, Tom Lehman, 2 Crown, Wesley Simpson, Whip 1, Xavier Izquierdo, Yagnori, Yellow Wonton, York V2, Zerg Zito. Thank you all so much for supporting the Patreon the way that you have. Sancho, what are you working on these days?
I am bolstering my Instagram because TikTok is banned in the United States. Well,
it's getting the axe.
It's getting there. So follow me at Sancho West. And I know for the people out there that big Sheamus fans, he's right on that list, on that cusp for that new he order. He's like on 11. He's so close, dude. That man, I don't care what you say. Let him eat burger after burger after burger after
dude,
burger.
Dude, he's already leaner than he was last week. The man's already losing the LBs. That is going to be a historic weight cut from Sheamus, I'm telling you.
He's going to look like you.
Oh, that's so nice of you. Anyways, you can just watch me here on YouTube, youtube.com/Mr. Santi Zap. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of Wrestling is Cool, coolest wrestling podcast on the planet. Take care and be good people.